G'day, it's Dan here again, and we're going to do another video continuing on our character sheet build for Cyberpunk RED. I was going to start working on initiative and also on the roles for attacks, but there is some upcoming improvements or enhancements to the Ruleset Wizard, hopefully going to land on the weekend, and they directly affect some of the coding that I'm going to do there. So I'm going to hold off on that, and today we're going to instead look at the skills list. So what we've got here is a lot of skills firstly. So we've got skills are broken up into a few different sections. We've got awareness skills, body skills, control skills, etc. We have a grouping of the skills, such as ranged weapon skills. Then we have the skill name, and in brackets we have the skill associated with it. Then we've got the level, and that is the level that you have attained in expertise in that particular skill. Then you have your stat, and the stat is the attributes such as will or intelligence, which is mentioned in that string. And then the field called base is actually the value that you have in that skill after you combine both of those things. So if, for example, in this form fillable character sheet, say we've got an intelligence of 8 and we have a level of 3 in conceal reveal object, we should then have a skill here of 11 for that conceal or reveal object. And then the way the skill is tested is you roll a d10 with the exploding d10, and you add your level and your stat score. So it would be 1d10 explosions plus 11. So the first thing I can see is we've got roughly 29 rows to deal with, including the headers, and we've got roughly 29 rows to deal with, and our Fantasy Grounds character sheet doesn't fit 29 rows on it with the current layout and formatting. So when I do these, we get about, so when I put in a bunch of blank skills here, we get roughly 23 rows. We can also probably lose the abilities row, that gives us 24, but we're probably going to have to manipulate the padding between each of these cells somehow, each of these rows, so we can try and get 29 onto this sheet. We need 3 columns, so we're going to have to also work on that. When I look at this sheet again, we can see that we've got the skill name and the attribute, and then we've got the level for the skill, and then the score that you have in your attribute or stat. So what I'm going to do is, I'm thinking is that I will combine those, so we will have concentration, the level, and then we will have the stat name, such as will, so I don't have to use it twice, and in the back end we will pull out the value of will there. So the advantage of that is that we will have less horizontal column width, so we can fit more on the screen. The downside to that is we possibly really want to have the base score listed there, so that when the player's looking down their character sheet what skill they want to use, they've got a more accurate idea of exactly what their skill is with that, or what their training or ability is with that skill. So we're going to try that 2 different ways and see how we end up. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new window, and we're going to call it car sheet abilities, which matches the frame name or the window class, matches the window class from Core RPG. We'll also just grab some values from here. So when I look at this, we've got 700 and we've got 580. Now the 700 is actually incorrect. I don't know what the actual correct number is just at the moment, because this window class sits inside the larger character sheet window class, and we've set that to 700. So obviously the parent character sheet window class has also got the tokens, icons, and the generic information about the character at the top of the screen. So we really don't have a full 700 in height, but the actual number is probably 580, 590, something like that. Might even be a bit higher, probably 640. So let's try that. We'll go 640, and over here we had 580 width. Okay. When I look at an existing list row that we've got, it's actually 32 pixels high. And going from 32 all the way down to 20 is a big jump. If we have a look at our character sheet, what we got here, okay, that's not going to show us a whole lot. We look at our character sheet over here, you can see there is some room here to gain some. These are actually 24 pixels tall. So we're going to have to lose a little bit of room there. We're going to have to lose a little bit of room between, but we're going to have to use a different frame here. So I think I'm going to have to make some new frames for these, maybe without the blocked corner, so a little bit skinnier. So I'm going to quickly pop off and do that. So what I'm looking at here is, so what I'm looking to here is add a couple more graphics in here. So we don't want icons, we want frames. Let's add a new frame. And we're going to call it BG Soft Grey. And the offset there is, I'm going to use the same one as we've done for red. I don't think it's very big, it's 222, yep. That's just because there's a 1 pixel transparency around each corner, and then the actual grey is actually a little bit offset as well. And then we're going to create a couple more for use in the numbers. So we'll do these. We've got simple num red, and the offset on these again should be nominal, and we've got simple number black to do as well. Alright, so in here we're going to add our list, but first we want to create a new list. We're going to use something like armor detail. So let's go back up here to campaign. What have we called this? A list is called armor detail, so we're going to call it skill detail. It's a new window. The width 186 minus 10, 175 we'll go with just for the moment, and height, this is going to be tough. I'm going to go with 22, which is going to be really skinny. We're just going to have to see how this goes. Let's drop a string field in here. You see here, it's already really struggling to fit in. We'll go right up against the edge here. The offset here. Let's go with 2, 2, and the width 150 is way too long. Let's try 100, and we're going to call it skill name. Okay, and that's it for the moment. Then we're going to go with a number field, which we're going to have to create a new one of. I'm going to add in here a template file because I think that I need to specify some number fields with less content in them. So we'll call this campaign template. Actually, template campaign, and so we're going to create a new definition for our simple number red, and we don't need a tooltip just at the moment. Offset 012, okay, that's fine. Basic number, simple number red. Let's try a simple number red and a simple number black. I'll see how these work out. Head back to our skill detail, and we're going to add in here a number field. Instead of fill dark, we're going to go with simple num red. Height 20, width, we'll just try 25, and we've got to give this a name. The name here is going let's try and get it into position. It's going to take the whole top and bottom. You can already see that I'm going to change this down to 90, see where that takes us to. Move this one over 10. We're going to also set the font here to be a reference bold. And we're going to set the color to white. We'll try and duplicate that one. String cycler or a drop-down list, I'm not sure. I'm going to go with the drop-down list for the moment. Going to go through the same whole process here. Frame offset, that's way too big, the 8s. Okay, I see what we've got here. Let's go with simple number red. Let's go with an offsets here of 2. The height is going to be 20. The width is going to be 25. This really is going to be really forcing something that doesn't really fit, I think. So here we've got skill base, and here we have skill stat. We need our font reference B, font color white. There's a lot of fiddly messing around here. Let's just go with this for the moment and see what we get. Skill detail. Let's go back to our card sheet abilities. Let's add a window list in here. Okay, so this is what we did differently. Alright, let's actually get rid of this. Let's get our measurements here. $186.55 and $130. $130, $186, 5 frame is BG soft red, frame offset. Okay, let's try that. Actually, our top offset needs to be 25, 26. Okay, and our list here is going to be, so we need to allow create, we need to allow, that's interesting, maybe we don't want to allow delete. Our class name is going to be skill detail. Our data source is going to be skill list. Okay, so in here we want this to be skill list. Alright, roundabout, I know. Okay, we also need to put in a label here, and we're going to call this label here okay, let's publish this, see what we end up with. Okay, so we've got awareness skills. This is throwing it right to the edge of the screen here. It's probably a little bit too far. Let's see what happens when we add the extra ones in here. Let's add a skill in. Okay. Okay, we're going to have a skill of 3 in there. Now, we didn't put any values in our drop-down list. That was a mistake. So we need to do looks like these are the values that we need: int, ref, dex, tech, cool, and will. And we will sort them true. And this direction, we want it to be down. Going to change this to 200. Alright, that's a pretty good size for the moment. Let's go with that, see where we end up. So I'm going to add a couple more skills here. Okay, we can see that I need to recover a couple of pixels somewhere. I'm worried that 18 is going to really show what we have to do here as well. Pop that up too. Okay, so they work, which is body skills, and we have 2, 4, 6, 7, so it's 140 pixels tall. Alright, that's better. So just the two elements here. The smallest of gaps. We'll change this. I see. Here's something that we really want to look at. I put a data source here of skill list, but really I want to do skill awareness maybe, or okay, this one's body skills, so that's not correct. Let's finish this one off quickly. Class name stays the same. This is almost going to stay the same, but instead of BG Soft Red, we're going with BG Soft Grey. Everything else there will stay the same. Instead of 130, 150. And we're going to stick with everything else here. Name will be, we're going to go with skill body list. I'm going to change this to body skills. This was probably didn't have the right name on it. So it should be skills body label, skills awareness. Okay, the data list here, we're going to lose the one we put in here. I'm going to create a new one, so that means that data that we've already created in there will get orphaned. Name skill list, that won't work. We need to do this skill awareness list. Alright, let's try that. Let's publish this one. Unfortunately, we're going to lose the data we've already entered. Okay, but let's create some entries here. So we're telling, okay, we just ran out of room there by a pixel, and I think that's going to tell. We this time I think we're going to increase the frame by 2 pixels to give us that space back. Okay, yeah, look, that's pretty close, and I think this comes fairly close to looking like the PDF character sheet. We've obviously need to do some work here to get those values, but I'm going to wrap it up for this session. It's been a long session, pretty mundane, just a lot of repetition, a lot of going over stuff we've done before, but revisiting it, looking at it in the context of a new frame and a new character sheet. What we might quickly do is I might duplicate this to column 2 and this one to column 3, just to give us an idea of the spacing on this. Yeah, we can see here that we've exceeded the bounds of the frame that we've allotted ourselves. Let's see what it actually looks like, because there's a bit of guesswork there, and we want to try and work out whether we expand the frame, whether we do something else. Okay, so we can see there that by bumping this out by, that's about 25, 30, probably 40 pixels. If we made this character sheet 40 pixels wider, this would probably fit. We can have a quick look at that. We can give that, go to car sheet and make it 640. Make the minimum width 640, maximum 640. Do that one, and our car sheet abilities, let's give it 620. Publish this. This is just a test to see what it looks like. It's not as clean as I'd hoped, but I think that that could work, and I think we'll probably come very close to getting our 3 rows of 29 on there. So I'm going to wrap that up for today's session. Thanks for joining me.